All right. Okay. So let's do the Mamer in Parshas Chukas and Likutei Torah, the 8th Mamer, the Mamer Os Yoshir Yisrael Ali Be'er Enula. Okay. So this is the shira that they saw. There was all the 8 great miracles the Eibishter did for them by having the mountains, the various ways how they died when they were trying to attack the Jews. And so they says Ali Be'er Enullah. They said, come up the fountain. They said to the Be'er to show all the bones were over there, all the limbs of the of those who wanted to kill the Jews. Be'er Chafaru Asorim Karu Chulu. So there is the well that was dug by the Sorim. This is talking about the Ovis. So we're talking about here about the level of the Be'er. The full pasuk reads, let's see what the full pasuk reads. Oz Yoshir Yisrael Sashir Azois Ali Be'er Enullah Be'er Chafaru Asorim Karu Nidivam B'Mechoykik B'Mashaynaisim B'Mizber Matona, referring to Moshe and Aaron and the whole travels and the great miracles Hashem did for them. So, Hine Be'er Nikra Knesset Yisrael. The Knesset Yisrael is called the well. The well was dug by the Sorim, by the others, but who is the Be'er? The Be'er, that's Knesset Yisrael. The Jewish people, a gathering of the Jewish people. Meaning, whenever we say Knesset Yisrael, it means the source, because here we're separated. Each one has their own neshama, each one has their own, but we come all from one place. The place where we all come from, that's called Knesset Yisrael, where all Israel are together. That's the place, if Hashem gives something to all Jews, to all neshamas, it goes to the Knesset Yisrael. From there it goes away, or something goes up, everything goes up to Knesset Yisrael. Knesset Yisrael is the name for the gathering where all Yidden are together. So all Yidden together are called a well. There's a well. It says in Shir Hashirim, when it talks about the Yidden over there, the full pasuk over there reads, Mayon Ganim Be'er Mayim Chaim V'Neizlim Min Levonon. That means that it is a well, a mayon. A mayon is a well of the gardens. Mayin Ganim. To keep the garden, the fruits and everything, you need a well. It's a Be'er Mayim Chaim. It's a fountain of living waters. And that references to the Yid. So what is this idea of a Be'er? So when you see, you have a well of water that flows from beneath the ground, how does the water get there? So he says like this, Hamayim Hemayordim Milmailo. The water come from above. Which water? We're from above. So he says, Min Ha'arba Nahoris, the 4 rivers. It says the Eibishter created Shem Hanor Rishain, the 4 rivers. So from the 4 rivers, it's brought down in the Gemara, Derech Suma de Pros. They go by the ladder of Pros. Pros is the Euphrates. That's the Nahara Revi, the Upros. That's the level of Pros. That's the Euphrates River. And there's sort of a ladder that goes from there. And the earth is moisturized, and with all the different holes, veins in the ground. So those waters from the 4 rivers through the Suma Pros, they come through the veins of the earth until they become water of a well, which means so now they return, and now they flow from beneath the ground, from below to above. So basically, it comes from the top. It goes down through the Sum of the Pros, down to the ground, through the moisture. The earth is moisturized by the river water, and then it comes back up the Mata L'mayla. So this is an example why the Yidden are called Mayim Chaim, because we too, the neshama comes from above. It goes down into the earth, into the world, into the Olam Hazeh, and then later on we bring up the Be'er from beneath the Olam Hazeh back to above the neshama. Kach Knesset Yisrael, Imekor Neshamas Yisrael. Likewise, Knesset Yisrael, which is the Mokir of Neshamas Yisrael, which is the source of the souls of Israel, like I explained to you before, the Knesset Yisrael, He Bo Milmayla. That comes from above. The Neshama, the Knesset Yisrael, comes from above. Utichila Hoyso Mayin Ganim. It was first the well of the gardens. Which gardens are we talking about? We know. Gan Eden HaElyon, Gan Eden HaTachten. So there was first a well that gave the water to these two Ganim, which is Gan Eden HaElyon, Gan Eden HaTachten. Shebo b'hishtalshlus ha'olamis. The Knesset Yisrael comes through the evolutions of the worlds. Derech Gan Eden HaElyon, but Derech Gan Eden HaTachten, and by the way, Gan Eden HaTachten. V'sham, and over there, Hoyso Mokoy Mamidas HaNeshama Terem Boyo L'Olam Hazeh. That's where the station of the soul was before it came down into this world. It came down by the Gan Eden El Gan Eden HaTachten. It was a Mayan Ganim. It was a well of the Ganim. Then, but when it comes dressed up in the body, then we become a living water. So on its way down, that's the Mayon, that's the well. On the way up, back, it becomes a Be'er Mayim Chaim, a well of living water. They go back and they go up and they flow from below to above. What does that mean? When the soul goes out of its seat, he meiser haguf, which is the incarceration of the body, la'oir ba'oir ha'chaim, to the light of the life. That's the Be'er Mayim Chaim going back. So this idea of Ma'in, so it's quite tight to the pasuk, Ma'in Ganim. It is a well for the gardens, for Gan Eden and Gan Eden HaTachten. And then is Be'er Mayim Chaim becomes a well of Mayim Chaim. So all this, what we discussed, this is the order, the path, and the order of the souls. The pasuk says, "Vayanicheyu began Eden le'avda u'leshamra." Hashem placed Adam Harishon in the Gan Eden for him to work it, basically to keep the garden, work the garden, and to protect it. What does this mean? To work the garden, this is talking about the world. The work is to work it through doing the mitzvah. That's how you work the garden. Ula shamra, and to guard is b'mitzvah. That is by observing not doing the prohibition. Through the observance of the positive mitzvahs and keeping the loisasa. So then you work and you fix the Gan Eden. Okay, so we're doing asay and leisa. This avoida working is called like watering. What do you do in your garden? You got to water the garden, right? So you have to water it. You have to give water for the garden. As the pasuk says, so it says that the river comes out from Eden lahashkis as hagon. That is watering the garden. So, nasis al yidei Yisrael lemato. This takes place through the Yidden below water this garden. Shekneses Yisrael hi hamayin ganim. Knesses Yisrael, the Jews, in the Mamer is the well of the gardens. Hamashke Sagan Eden, Sagan Ha'elyon, Began Hatacht, the upper and the lower garden. Voinyan. What is the idea? Just like in a physical garden, you need to water it in order to get all the good fruit. Shekshem shebegan, just like in a garden. Tzorich liyas by mayon lahashkoisei. You need to have a well to water it. Kidei lahatzmiach kol pri shebegan, in order to sprout all kinds of fruit in the garden. Sha'amayim atzmichim kol minei tainug, because it takes water to grow all kinds of delicacies, all kinds of pleasures. Kach hine Gan Eden, likewise. Tzorich liyas by b'chinas mayim. So the Gan Eden also is a Gan. It's called a Gan Eden, the Gan of Eden. Needs to have also a well. Ki Gan Eden. So in other words, to get the fruits, the pleasure, from the garden. So to get the pleasure from the Gan Eden is the Tainug HaNeshamas. That's the place where the souls delight. Shenenim Meziva Shechina, that they enjoy the ray of the Shechina. Shebo Liklal Gilui Hasogas HaNefesh Hamaseged Beirin Sobaruch. You come to be included to be able the revelation of the soul to grasping the Beirin Sobaruch. That's a pleasure. A pleasure is you begin to understand. You begin to understand. So that's the pleasure that takes place. And that's the garden that waters to help bring about the great tainug that you have in Gan Eden of being able to understand and grasp. Through being able to grasp, they delight such a wonderful tainug to no end. Till our rabbis tell us about Rabbi Meir, that he says mutav de ledaine chulu, that it's better to acher, that he should be judged. There was smoke coming out from his caver because he couldn't go to Gan Eden because of what he went away from the Elisha ben Avuy, the acher, and then also not Gehenim. So he says it's better off for him to come to Gehenim so that he will merit later on Gan Eden. So we can imagine Shafilu kol Yisuri Gehenim, even all the pains of Gehenim. Kedayulo, it's worth it. It's worth for the soul. Utzricha haneshama liyos lo miruk begehenim tchila. The neshama needs to be cleaned in Gehenim first, so that it can later on reach to that level, to the light over Hashem in the light of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu. So we see how powerful that level of the light is in Gan Eden. Who is Baruch is Stima the whole Stima. He is hidden of everything that is hidden. So the question is, so how could the Eibishter come through the revealed understanding? In order for you to get pleasure, you have to be able to get understanding in a revealed way. But how are you going to be able to get from Stima, the whole Stima, from the hidden of all hidden? How would you get a Gila Soga? It hinges on arousal from below. The kiyum hatoiro mitzvahs, when we fulfill observant Torah mitzvahs. Mitzvahs shenislapshu binyonim gashmi, the mitzvahs that have been dressed up in physical matters, kimoi such as korbanis, shem balei chayim, they're animals, the korbanis, utrumes, umaisris, shem bechinas tzemeach, that is the level of the growing thing. So you have old categories. You have korbanis, those are balei chayim, and then you have trumas umaisris, these are the level of tzemeach, and then you have tzedakah. Shehi b'chinas doimim. Tzedakah is the level of doimim. I guess the actual coins that you give for tzedakah is inanimate. They're just material, metal. Hine shorshom v'yisedosom oid nala. So their root is very high. Bahari kodesh madrega shel rotzin el yein v'oid sabaruchu. They come from the level of the rotzin eid sabaruchu. So while they come down into very physical mitzvahs in chai, shemeach, and doimim, but yet they come from a very high source. It's known from the example. If you have a wall, what falls further below, the pieces that were higher come down lower. So from what you come down here, lower, comes from a higher place. As it says in Sefer Yitzira, that notes that the beginning is stuck into the end. What comes in the end, in the action, comes first in thought. And therefore, these mitzvahs that we do, to bring down the vitality and the light of the blessed Ein Sof, that it should be revealed understanding, the tainug haneshamis, and in the light of the souls, in Gan Eden Ha'elyon B'olam Habriya, and Gan Eden Ha'tachton Sheb'olam Ha'asiyah is the mitzvahs. That's how we are able to bring it down. So how do we bring down? How can we grasp through the mitzvahs? The mitzvahs, while they're very physical, very mundane, and dressed up in the various tzemeach chai medaber, but yet, tzemeach chai doimim, tzemeach chai, but yet they come from a very high source. Well, derech zeh shar kol mitzvahs havaya shem b'machshava u'dibur u'maisa shel ha'odam. Similar is all the machshava dibur u'maisa ha'odam is the one that brings this down. So machshava, what is machshava? Hikavonas hamitzvah. Machshava, that's the intention of the mitzvah, that's your thoughts when you're doing the mitzvah with kavanah. The dibur, and dibur hu talmud Torah v'kriyas shema u'birchas hamazon. When you speak words of Torah and you read the Shema and you bench, and similar to that, that's dibur. Umaisa hamitzvahs, umaisa is hamitzvahs ma'asiyos shel mamash. That's the actual mitzvahs that we do. So hein b'chinas b'ri yitzira. So those are the level of b'ri yitzira siya, because machshava is usually associated with the level of b'riya. Dibur is associated with the level of yitzira, and the action asiya is asiya. So b'hem v'al yodam, it is within them and through them, nimshach hachayis v'eirin sabaruchu mehelem elagilu, comes from helem elagilu. So this is the Serus L'Tato, this is the L'Shamra, this is L'Avda, in order to make that well in the Gan Eden so that things grow, that we get the Gilu Hasog. The Gilu Zeh, Ubibchinas Panimis, Ubibchinas Makifim. We get it two ways. We get it, the revelation comes in an inner, and it also comes in a Makif. In mitzvahs, there are two aspects. We have B'chinas Panimis mitzvahs, Ubibchinas Makifim. We have the inner of the mitzvahs and Makifim. Specifically, talking about specifically about this is a mitzvah, the mitzvahs tzedakah. Let's say when we talk about the mitzvah of tzedakah, so there's two parts. You have to feed the poor person, that's inner. And you have to give him clothing. That's makifim. Pasuk says two things. Separate to the hungry from your bread, which is to give food and thunder, which is bechinas penimis, which is an inner. The pasuk says also, when you see a person undressed, cover him. Give him the clothing, bechinas makif. And then the pasuk says, then the pasuk says, Ostisaneg alavaya. Then you will delight alavaya. And again it says, al daike, beyond havaya. That is that the havaya in Sof Baruch Hu should be niklat v'niklat. That means ostisaneg alavaya, meaning that it should be absorbed and grasped. Niklat basogas haneshama b'bchinas pinimis, in the inner. Ad she'tiyeno misangeiz v'nenes chulu, until they actually delight and enjoy. Ki hamuskol hanitzus basogas odom v'sichlo, because when you got an idea that is grasping of the person's intellect, the seichel and the grasping surround the idea from all sides. The muskul is dressed up in the inner, in the seichel. So that means that the person's intellect is higher than the muskul, because you grasp with your seichel, so the seichel surrounds the muskul and yours is higher. This is the idea we say. Srafim aimdim mima'aloi chulu. What does it mean, the srafim standing above him? Srafim can stand above the Eibishter. Can stand above the Eibishter. What does it mean, srafim don't know? When the srafim grasp the Eibishter, and the Eibishter is being dressed up in their seichel, that means that they're on a higher level than what they're grasping, because the seichel is surrounding and is above, encompasses the muskul. That's the level of previous. On this other hand, the gam b'chinas makif. There's also the level of makif. The seichel is also in a way that surrounds it. What does it mean? It says vayetze kaborok chitzei, that it's like a lightning. The arrow comes out like a lightning. It's only like a lightning which lights in his intellect and hasaga, which means something which is beyond. He has level of chokhmah. He just gets an idea, but it's beyond. But it doesn't dress up in his hasaga. So you have the part of the seichel, that's the level of bina, which definitely dresses up and you are makivit, and then you have the thing that stands above. And these are levushe haneshama shebegan Eden. Because you need also in Gan Eden, you need the pleasure that you understand, but you also need the garments, which is liyos surura b'tzroir hachayim, to be bound in the bound of life. So you need something to tie you together, to warm you up, to dress you up. Or it says, Kvod Hashem ya'osfecha, the glory of Hashem will gather you in. That's where you are gathered in by Hashem. Hashem is makif, it's ya'osfecha. The hainu liyos eire sobaruchu makif olav. That means the light of the blessing Sof should surround him. Umal bishoy, and dress him up with soivevei mikol tzad. Ad sheyiyah nichla be'eidin sobaruchu mamash, until he is included in the actual light of the Ein Sof, b'chinas bitl hasoga, to the subjugation of the hasoga. V'zehu she'omar Kvod Hashem ya'oscha. This is what it says, that the glory of Hashem will gather you in. Achar, that comes after, the Kvod Hashem ya'oscha comes after Ki tzira oru v'chisisai. Because in response to your makif, oru v'chisisai shu b'chinas makif levush. So inyan kavod, there's the inyan from the kavod to inyan makif, and that's why the kavod Hashem Yascha is as a response to Tira V'Chisisa. So inyan ma'in ganim. Okay, now we'll just leave it over here, and